Hi team, this is Chris Abraham from GOHmath. This spring and fall we're hosting a whole brand new series of workshops for teachers for math, science, English, and history. You should check out these workshops. We're going to be holding them in Massachusetts, in Florida, in New York, in California. Check them out. I'm sure you'll find them very helpful. Take care. Hi team, this is Chris Abraham from GOHmath. Today we're going to work on number 34 on the CBEST Elementary Math Practice Test. It's part of the GOHmath 2015 Teacher Workshop Series. Number 34 introduces some core ideas in algebra involving relationships between two variables. We're going to look at these relationships between different variables to see how we can come up with equations and ultimately take those equations and graph them. But for now, let's start with this problem here. I'll read it over first and then we'll work through how to answer it. It says, use the chart below to answer the question that follows. And it gives us a chart. Sometimes we think of this chart as an input-output chart. The x's are the inputs, the y's are the outputs. We input a 1, we get a 3. We input a 2, we get a 6. And so on and so on. And we have this missing space here. It says the chart above displays a relationship between values of x and y. Given this relationship, what would be the value of y that is missing? And then we have options for y. Now, it's talking about this relationship between these two variables. And I want you to start thinking about when you see something like this, a table of values with two variables, I want you to think about the first variable being the input and the second variable being the output. And there is a relationship, and I guess my strategy for a problem like this is stick with the whole numbers, 1, 3, 2, 6, 3, 9, because I think that's going to be a little easier to work this out, to find the relationship. Sometimes we think of a relationship as a pattern or a rule, and one way to work this out is to try and find out what that pattern or rule is. Like, what are you exactly doing to your input to get your output? You could be adding, like I could add 1 to the 1, but that doesn't get me to 3, so that doesn't work. You could add 2 to the 1, that would get you to 3. The thing is, once you choose a rule, it has to work for all of them if it's a linear equation. So here, if I add 2 to this one, or better yet, let's add 2 to the 2 here, since it's a little easier. Nah, it doesn't get me to the 6. So I got to go back, I got to change my rule. Now this could be adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, squaring, or a combination. But I think the easiest one is just to multiply that 1 by 3, or multiply that 2 by 3, or multiply that 3 by 3, and that gets you the correct output. I input a 1, I multiply it by 3, and out comes the correct output of a 3. All right, and we could use that rule to find all these other values, including the missing value. 2.5 times 3 gets you your 7.5 output and gets you your answer. Now this relationship between these two variables, one way to express this is with a function machine. And how does that work? Well, it looks something like this. This is the way we introduce rules and patterns in algebra to second and third graders. We'll make a function machine and we'll say, hey, you take an x value, some unknown value, you put it into your function machine, and you do something to the x. In this case here, we're going to take that x and we're going to multiply the x times 3. So I could just write it as 3x. And out comes a y. And then I could express this as an equation just by saying y, my output, is equal to whatever x is times 3, or 3x. Now what we've done is we've taken this relationship, we've found the rule, the pattern between the x and y, and what we've done is we've expressed it as an equation. Now I know I'm going a little further than what you have to do in this problem, but I think it's important because once we get to this algebraic equation that describes this pattern here, or this relationship between the x and y axis, x and y values, what we can do from this point is graph it. And this is a very important leap that you do. You find the rule, you come up with an equation, and then you're able to graph it. So I want you to be able to do this. So I'm just going to draw the graph for this particular problem. I have my x here, x in the horizontal axis. It's going to always be my input. And my y is the vertical axis. This is my output. Sometimes we think of this as the x is the domain and the y is the range. I think it's better just to remember that x is the input, y is the output. And I have some values on this x-axis and some values on this y-axis. And just a really quick sketch, when x is 1, y is 3, so I'm plotting that point, that ordered pair. When x is 1, y is 3. When x is 2, that would be 4, 5, 6. When x is 2, y is 6. Just so you see that I could take this table of values, this chart, and plot some of these points on the graph. And I can find some of these points using the equation, and they're all interconnected. We could take this, that's supposed to be a straight line, meaning my drawing is pretty bad. But I could use these right here, and I could create a straight line or some sort of graph plotting out these points. And what we have here in this very, very basic problem is we have 3 major components to most algebra problems. Some sort of pattern or rule between that we can find in a table of values or chart. An equation which expresses this rule algebraically. And a graph that represents this relationship visually. All right, with an x and y axis. Okay, lots of ideas here, introducing some of these ideas, but ultimately the answer for 34 is D. Okay, team, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Chris Abraham from GOHmath. Have a great day. Take care.